Hello and thank you for joining me today. I'm Jan Clothier of Thinking Stamping and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based in New Zealand. And today I'm going to share with you how I made this card, which I made for the current challenge over at Colour Inspiration where I'm on the design team. And the colours that we had to work with this week were Early Espresso, Soft Seafoam, Petal Pink and So Saffron. So I thought, oh, that's kind of a floral colour combination. And I'd seen on the internet a few people who had made these lovely trellis cards that look a bit like a fence railing. So I thought, oh, I reckon I could have a go at making one of those. And so I'm going to share with you the results of that experiment. So I used the Dainty Delight bundle because I just had in mind a little spray of flowers in this bundle. Sorry, the die set of this bundle gives you lots and lots of different options. And for the sentiment, I've used my old friend Something Fancy. So I've used the Happy Birthday from that and the equivalent matching die, the little parallelogram die from Something Fancy. So that's the hardware, I guess, that most of the hardware that I've used. But I'll share with you now what else I used to make it and then what I learned from putting this together. So my base is Early Espresso, and so obviously you need a piece of Early Espresso. I've cut it as a tent fold, so this is a long cut of a piece of A4 paper. So it's 10.5 centimetres that way and the length of a piece of A4 that way, and I've scored it halfway at 14.8. Now, if you're not a metric person, this is a standard card size for me, so just do whatever your normal tent fold card size is and work from that. So, Early Espresso base. You need a little bit of extra Early Espresso, also at 10.5. For the inside, you can see here that I have just kept it quite simple. There's a mat of soft seafoam, so that's 10 centimetres by 14.3, and then a piece of very vanilla 9.5 by 13.8. I'll just pop that aside because we don't need it. Now, these dies, what do we need for that? Well, with this die, you need a little piece of soft seafoam for that, and then the little daisy die. I cut 6 of those. I've already made up 2 of the flowers, and I'll make the third one up just to show you what I've done. So 2 of those, and the other die you need is this little tiny one here, which cuts flower centres. Now it cuts 4 at a time. It cuts 2 round ones, which are the ones you need, and it also cuts 2 cone-shaped ones, which we don't need. So you're going to need to cut 2 lots of those in order to get the 3 little flower centres that you need for this card. In addition to that, you're also going to need a little piece of Very Vanilla to do the sentiment, and another little piece of Petal Pink, because I've used that little parallelogram die to cut myself a Petal Pink shadow. So that's pretty much what you need to cut. And as you can see, I've embossed using the Timber 3D die to give it that kind of garden fence look. Okay, so the interesting bit about this card, I guess, is how I went about making the trellis, and I'm just going to share that with you now. So starting with my card, my tent fold card, I got my paper trimmer. Oh, hang on, I'll just move those things off so we don't lose them. Okay. So I started by cutting myself 1.5 centimetre strips. So I did 1, 2, 3, 5. So I did 6 1.5 centimetre strips, and so now my card front looks like that. And the reason I've got this other piece of 10.5 centimetre is I want another strip of 1.5 centimetre. And I want 2 strips that are a bit narrower, so I'm going to cut them 1.3. And I'm just going to put those aside so I don't get them mixed up. So 2 more at 1.3. Oops. Okay, so we'll just pop them over there and we'll move that off because we don't need it. Right, so what I did next was I put my card front onto my grid paper so that I could see that I was getting things straight. And I just used Post-it notes. Oh, hang on, before I did that, just a minute. I need some washi tape because I need something to attach my little strips to when I'm working with them. So I just ripped myself off a piece of washi tape, popped it under there, and so I've sticky side up, lining it up, and I'm just going to take another piece of washi tape and use it to hold that down. So now I've got a sticky strip down the center which is held by this little piece of washi tape here, and then I'm going to get a couple of Post-it notes, and you just use those to hold my card base steady while I'm going. And then I'm going to take my 1.5 centimeter strips and I'm going to line them up. That's the bottom one. Just pressing the washi tape just to hold them in place. And now when I do this one, I'm going to leave myself a gap, and I'm just using my I'm kind of eyeballing them and lining up the sides and just keeping an eye on the grid paper just to help me. And I'm just going to go top and bottom, top and bottom. Okay, so now I've got those done. I'm going to use these other 2 pieces to be the supports. Now I'm going to put them there, so 1.5 centimeters in. So that's why I've really lined up the grid paper here, so it can help me with lining up these support struts. I'm just going to put a bit of glue and then 1, 2, 3, line them up there, and then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Come in 1.5 centimeters, put in my bit of glue to hold them, and line them up. Okay, so now I've got the front done, so I'm going to take away the Post-it notes, take away my supporting washi tape. Now, the reason that I've cut myself these 2 extra pieces, which are just narrower than the supporting struts, is because I'm going to put them on the back here, just as a bit of reinforcing, just to give it a bit of extra strength. And I cut them a couple of millimeters narrower so that they wouldn't show through on the front. So, bit of glue. Okay. And then, whoops, a bit careless because now I've got a bit of glue showing. Which was unnecessary. If I'd just placed that a little bit more carefully, I wouldn't have had that bit of glue outage. Okay, and then I'm just pulling off at a 45-degree angle with the washi tape so that it comes off nicely. Okay. And we've got the basic trellis there. What I did next was, once it was all done, I popped it into the embossing folder. Up to the crease. And then just ran it through. And then we've got our lovely little garden trellis wall. I'm going to actually glue in this now because then I can see, I don't know, I just kind of like seeing the vanilla peeking through the fence posts. So we'll pop that in. You could, if you wanted to, obviously you could stamp or embellish that, but I just wanted it to peek through like that. So I'm now going to add on my little soft seafoam vine. Just pop that on. And what I did with the daisies, you can see I've kind of given them a bit of a pep up. You could just leave them single like that if you really wanted to. I decided I'd make mine a little bit fancier, so I just took a little dot of glue, popped the second one on top, and then offset the petals so they filled up. And then a tiny little dot of glue. And the Take Your Pick tool is just perfect for picking up that tiny little flower centre, popping it in place. And then what I did was I just used the bone folder to just give them a little bit of a curl, a little bit of dimensionality. And then a little bit of a tweak with the fingers, and then pop them onto a little mini dimensional. And then you can just place them wherever you like, really. So we'll just have them climbing up the vine. And maybe here. I'm going to get my little sentiment. You can see that I have done the happy birthday onto Very Vanilla with Early Espresso ink, and then I've cut myself a petal pink shadow piece, which we'll just glue together, just so that there's a little hint of a shadow. Just bringing in a bit more of the colour. Glue wiggle room. Okay, and then I think that we will dimensional him on. Oops. 2, 3. And we shall just attach the sentiment. And the final embellishment, I mean, there's lots of things you could use for embellishments. I think that iridescent rhinestones would look lovely, pearls, whatever. But I found I've still had some of these elegant faceted gems, and they come in petal pink. I want to say petal pink white, and that looks vanilla-y, but I'm going to use the petal pink, and I'm just going to use them. Actually, I'm going to switch that to the pointy end because I like the pointy end. Okay, so we're just going to add some bits of bling, these elegant faceted gems, and they can climb up the garden trellis in amongst the flowers. Oops. And now I think we'll switch to some little ones. We'll have maybe one there, and perhaps we'll just pop one there. Okay, and there we have it. We have my interpretation of a garden trellis card. using the timber embossing folder, the Dainty Delights dies, and the Something Fancy sentiments. Now, if you've seen anything that you that I've used today that you'd like to add to your craft stash and you live in New Zealand, then you're more than welcome to shop with me. There's a link to my online store in the video description below and the end card video, and end cards of this video. As always, I'm more than happy to answer questions, and you can contact me through my blog or my Jan Clothier Independent Stampin' Up Demonstrator Facebook page, and there's links to those in the video description below as well. And above all else, happy stamping, everyone.